Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Chris Mills, and I am 51 years old. I was born in Fergus Falls, Minnesota. I served 16 years in the Minnesota National Guard, based out of Thief River Falls and Crookston, Minnesota, with the two of the 136.
What year did you go?
1989 was the first year that or when I went to basic training. Went to Fort Benning, Georgia.
Let's talk about that a little bit. You went. That's where you took basic training. Was Fort Benning, Georgia.
Yep, I did my AIT on my basic in Fort Benning.
So you went in there as National Guard, right?
Yep.
And did you ever notice? Were you treated any different being National Guard? Were you with regular Army at all?
Yep, we were mixed with regular Army, and I never felt like I was treated any different. Matter of fact, I spent a lot of time with a group of guys that were going to jump school. They were going Airborne Ranger when they were done, and I was really at a crossroads in basic about whether or not I was going to come back and go to college and play football and baseball, or if I was going to sign up to go regular Army at that time. And it was kind of a real transition time for me, and I ended up talking to a coach that I had at that time, and he basically counseled me into, come back, go to school, and if you still want to go, they're going to take you. So, but I did. I spent a lot of time with those guys, so I never felt that way.
So how was basic training for you? What was it like?
Well, it was interesting. I mean, Georgia, I'd never been to that area. I think they're pushing you hard to get to where they want you physically all the time, and so, but I was in pretty good shape. I just completed my first year of college. I'd played 3 sports at junior college in Thief River Falls that year, so I was physically I was ready to go, and I enjoyed it.
What's some of the things you did?
Well, I mean, I remember one of the things was, I've never been a real big fan of running, and we run 5 miles a day every morning after you got through about the first 3 weeks, and I just remember we had some drill sergeants that were amazing singers, and so they sang the cadence, and so it was what you went and did. That was interesting, how you were able to extend your running, and that you weren't thinking about your running. You were kind of enjoyed the cadence and hand-to-hand combat stuff. Your shooting range stuff. When we went down at that time, we were grunts. We were going in as grunts, and so and then when we came back, that kind of changed where we got into the Bradley tanks and that stuff when we were back. But as far as basic, yeah, it was interesting that way.
Okay, you graduated from basic and went to.
AIT was there, so it was still in Fort Benning, Georgia. So finished another 6 weeks AIT as a grunt, and.
So you were 82nd Airborne there?
What wasn't airborne? No, it was just flat out working with regular Army and the AIT stuff, and so it was really stayed on the grunt side. But we did do the rappelling in AIT and kind of worked on some of those types of things, but never got to the airborne status.
What was your MOS?
That's a good question. I don't remember now.
They trained you to be
a grunt, foot soldier.
Oh, infantry.
Yep, we were infantry, and so until we got back. And then, like I said, I would say 4 years after returning into the Guard, the two of the 136 moved into the Bradley tanks. And so we spent a lot of time at Camp Ripley training up on those for a few years, and had those the majority of the time I was in.
So while you're in the Guard, you did weekends where at?
Did weekends in Thief River and Camp Ripley. And 1 week in a month, a couple weeks in the summer, depending on training. And when we got to the Bradleys, we did a few years of 3 weeks.
When you say Bradleys, what are we talking about?
The Bradley tanks. We moved over to those, and so we were getting kind of that second level stuff returned from the regular Army to start training into, so we were qualified to work on, to be able to operate them, shoot them, drive them, float them, whatever needed to be done.
You did all that?
Did all that, yep.
Okay. And when you're in a tank, you said something about being a driver? Or?
I drove for half a dozen years, so that was I really enjoyed that. I was a gunner for 1 year just because I wanted that experience, but the driving, I enjoyed that, taking care of the tank. And we were telling the story about going across Camp Ripley, and getting the tank over 50 miles an hour was kind of a unique experience. And so, and Camp Ripley's kind of interesting because it has ranges that fit for the Bradley tanks, and those are very unique ranges. There's groups that come from all over the country to use Camp Ripley because of that.
Okay. What was your rank at that time?
I was the specialist is as high as I went.
Specialist, first class, second?
Yep, first class.
Okay.
Yeah, and never moved into a sergeant rank. The National Guard paid for a lot of my college, and so instead of going to some of the military schools, spent a lot of time in the graduate school along the way. So that was kind of where my focus was.
Good. So you spent how many years?
16 years.
16 years, and what do you recall? What sticks out in your mind about your service?
Well, you get a lot of camaraderie. A lot of people that I met over the years in the Guard. Many of them I'm still friends with. I see around the region because a lot of them are from the communities we have around Stephen Argyle and Thief River and Crookston. So see a lot of those people at different events, and so a lot of friendships. A lot of leadership training. I always valued the leadership things that came out of the military, and I like the structure in those things. So I think that's always stuck with me quite a bit. And just I think overall, being in that military setting, you feel good about your service and what you're doing in your community, as well as what other responsibilities you may have later.
Did you ever get called out to the community to do anything as being a Guard member, like floods or anything like that?
You know, in '97, when they were doing some of the flood stuff, our unit got activated, and I happened to be in Benson, Minnesota at that time as a teacher, and so the activation was voluntary, and I think that was my second or third year teaching, and so I wasn't required to do that, but our units were involved in that. Got called out a few times to go out and find people during a blizzard and that, when we happened to be our weekend and a blizzard came through, and they activated some Guard guys to go out and look for some people that were stalled on roads and things like that. And the members of our unit do some voluntary service in Iraq, and they got placed in some other places in Germany and Alaska at times too, but I wasn't part of those deployments.
Good. So anything else that sticks out in your mind about the military, while you're in the military or in the Guard?
Well, I think the Minnesota Guard is it's been a really good thing for a lot of people in regards to supporting their college ambitions. I think it has a great service in the community with some of the things that they've done in different places. And you just mentioned some of the flood duty or being activated in some riot control situations. I mean, I think there are the service that's provided not only in the event that you would be activated, but what happens in the state is really critical. So I always valued my time in there, and yeah, it was a great experience, and I'm always grateful for the fact that of the people I think that I've met during that time. That was probably the biggest thing.
Good. Anything else you wanted to add, Chris?
No, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it. It was very positive and great experiences for me.
Well, thank you, Chris. You're very well respected in the community. I want to thank you for doing this interview, and thank you for your service.
Anytime. Thank you.